Hello and welcome to the Feminine Millionaire Show. I'm your host, Polly Alexander. I'm a success coach, intuitive healer, and a passionate creative. And I believe that we all have the power to manifest magic and miracles into our life. If creating success in a spiritual, feminine, and joyful way is your goal, this show is for you. You'll understand how to overcome your past, bring your soul's greatest gifts to the world, and up-level your income, impact, joy, and happiness. Let's all rise together. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Feminine Millionaire Show. I'm really excited today because we're joined by a special guest, Katharine Giovanni. Welcome, Katharine.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Katharine and I are going to dive into the topic of reinvention, which is our current theme on the show. And then we're going to go more deeply into the powerful topic of forgiveness, which will be a game changer for your life and your energy. But before we dive in, let me introduce Katharine. She is a 3-time award-winning best-selling author of 12 books, a dynamic speaker, trainer, and advisor. And her latest work, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power, offers profound insights into the transformative power of forgiveness. A trailblazer in the concierge industry, Katharine founded the first association for independent concierges, shaping the industry for over 2 decades until her retirement in March 2023. Throughout her illustrious career, Katharine trained numerous concierge and frontline staff, earning her clients a reputation as some of the industry's most successful. Her expertise has been sought after by major media outlets, including Time Magazine, Forbes, the New York Times, CBS News, and the Wall Street Journal. A proud breast cancer survivor, Katharine's resilience and determination inspire others to overcome life's challenges. She was raised in the vibrant backdrop of New York City. She holds a degree from Lake Forest College and currently calls North Carolina home. So great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's start with your reinvention. So you had this illustrious and long-standing career in the concierge industry. How did you know when it was time to bring it to a close?
After teaching everybody how to say it was my pleasure versus you're welcome for over 25 years, I decided it was time that I moved into something different. It's not that I burned out particularly, but it was just time. I got into the age where I really wanted to slow down. I didn't want to do as much traveling. And I decided it was just time to take a break from it.
Right. I remember when I did a pivot, there was this feeling of like I've sort of done all I can in my field. I've kind of reached the top. I've kind of checked all the boxes, and there was like a seeking of new challenges.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I had gotten to the top of that industry. And when people said, well, you need to talk to the expert, I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but they call me. So there was nowhere for me to grow. There was nowhere for me to, I'd written all the books and I'd done the speaking. And I just decided I needed a new challenge. I needed to do something else. So I thought, I'm going to concentrate on my books and I'm going to start chapter 2 of my life, because there are some great, wonderful people I've trained in the concierge industry to take my place, and they have. So I left it in good hands.
So there's this sense of kind of you've prepared the next generation to take over from you, and a kind of satisfaction in that.
Yeah, I wrote the last edition of the Concierge Manual. The reason I've written 12 books is because 6 of them were the Concierge Manual. I started writing it in 1998, and it was a 3-ring binder. And then everything just kind of grew from there. And back then, if the industry had 10 concierge companies around the United States, that might have been high. So it just kept growing and growing and growing. And finally somebody said, well, could you create an association? So we did that. And when you're asking me, when you think about creating an association, it's not that I'm particularly smart. It's just that I have a really high tolerance to pain. I've had people call me up and said, I want to start an association. What do I need to do? And I've actually said to them, what's your tolerance to pain? And I've tried to talk them out of it. After a while, you want to do something else. It's not that it got boring, but it's like, there's got to be something else I can do besides this.
Yeah. Yeah. And this tolerance to pain, do you think this helped you reinvent yourself and start this new chapter?
Probably, because fear of the unknown is the most horrible thing in the world. It's like the devil we know is better than the devil you don't. And I've always had a secret weapon because I'm very intuitive. So I've learned to listen to that little bird on my shoulder. Of course, I've written a book about it. But my intuition kept kind of yelling at me you need to start writing. You need to start moving more into your intuitive self. You need to start moving into a different direction. And I'd always added forgiveness to my workshops because I can't teach you. And this is 100% true. I can't teach you to be warm, friendly, and approachable and be the perfect concierge for a hotel or a company or whatever you want to do. Or maybe you're just working the front desk someplace if you're angry inside, because your anger is going to bleed through your body language whether you want it to or not. So I need to get to the core anger. And back in those days, because I am that old, nobody introduced a soft topic back in the late 90s. It was considered taboo. Nobody did it. I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't say, I have to help these people. So I started adding forgiveness to my workshops, and I noticed a great change in people as I did it. So after I decided to step back, I thought that changed people so much in business. I think I'm just going to concentrate on forgiveness. And that's when I started the work.
That's so interesting. So you actually started bringing your personal journey around forgiveness and what you were learning and exploring. You started bringing it into your current business journey back then, saw the impact of it, and then you were like, hold on, this is where I'm being guided to go full time. So let's talk about how your journey into forgiveness work started. Were you that angry person? Did you recognize that anger in you? Or were you seeing it show up around you? What was the impetus for you?
I was an angry teenager. In the eighth grade in 1974, and by the way, I actually forgave 1974 because it was such a horrific year. Yes, you can forgive people, places, and things, but we'll get to that in a minute. In 1974, I was in the eighth grade. My parents were getting a horrible divorce with all the bells and whistles of nasty. I was getting bullied in school to the point where it was really unbearable, and I tried to commit suicide. So I turned into one of your typical angry teenagers that was wearing black and was hunched over with the hoodie. I mean, I was angry, and I stayed angry well into my 20s, and it became my story. It became who I was. I was a survivor. Look at this wonderful person that survived all these horrific things. And then my mother had gotten sober, and for 3 years we made amends, and we were really, really close. And then she died of cancer. And I looked at that death and I thought, I can't do this anymore. If I don't change, I'm going to die like my mom did. And I've got to lose this anger. But here's the trick, then I'd have to lose the story. And if I lost the story, who would I be? That's really scary. I'd created this persona, this survival, and it was who I was. But if I lost all of that, who would I be? So that's the trick, isn't it? So I didn't know anything about forgiveness because everybody tells you you have to forgive, but nobody teaches you how. They just say you have to do it. Okay, how? They don't teach you how. I teach how. But back in those days, I just started forgiving people randomly, and I just said, "I forgive you." That's pretty much it. That's all I did. But it started to make me feel better, and I started to come out of my shell a little bit, and I started to. It's almost like the light started to turn on. It's like I was in a dark room, and all of a sudden, I just turned on a light, and everything started to look a little better and taste a little better, and I dropped a little weight. Which there's a reason to buy my book. You'll lose weight. There you go. That's how it started. It started because I needed to lose the anger for me because I always thought there's something else out there for me, but I'm not going to see it if I stay angry all the time. And I was sick, I was tired, I got all the flus, I got colds, I got bronchitis, pneumonia. I was always sick, always complaining, didn't have a lot of friends because who wants to be around somebody who's sick and complaining all the time? I
Mm.
certainly wouldn't. So I had to lose the story and become somebody else.
And so, did you have like a light bulb moment when you realized, oh, this is who I'm being, where you were able to like separate yourself from your story?
Yeah, I did. It wasn't like Moses carting the water. I was grieving my mother. I was on Long Island. I went to Long Island to grieve. And that's actually where I met my husband one weekend. And as I looked at him, and we were just dating at that point, I just thought, I can't be that story anymore. I got to lose it. And it was just a very quiet moment in my head. It just kind of said, I can't do this. And I changed on a dime almost within a millisecond because change is hard, but you can change on a dime. You can just wake up one morning and decide, I don't want to be that person anymore. And you're done.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, we tend to overthink things as women, particularly, or
Yeah,
it
you
can
do.
be difficult or hard. And then, as you said, it can just change like that.
Just decide you don't want to be a punching bag anymore. You decide you don't want to be that person anymore. And forgiving yourself might be you might be your own number 10. Maybe you did some horrible things. Maybe your family did some horrible things to you. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You can change. That's why every morning you wake up and you can say, I'm not going to be that person anymore. And you just decide to stop. Well, it sounds a little more simple than it is, but that's really what I did. I just one morning decided, I'm done.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about where you get started on this. So for someone who's like, oh, this is really ringing true for me. Yes, I recognize myself in what you're sharing. Where would they start? Because I think that people can often think, oh my gosh, I've got to forgive that person that did something really terrible to me, or where there is abuse or big betrayals, really, really big pieces that can feel daunting to even revisit. So where do you suggest someone gets started?
Well, first of all, when you're thinking of forgiveness, everybody listening to this broadcast is probably thinking of their number 10 on a 10 scale, with 10 being the most horrible thing. You're probably thinking of your number 10 person, the person who did the most damage to you, the person that's living rent free in your head all the time. And my advice is to first remember forgiveness is selfish. You forgive for you, you don't forgive for them. You're not saying they were right because they were not. You're saying, I want you out of my head. I'm doing this for me. It's also not like a recovery program where you have to reach out and make amends. In my world, you do not. You can do this all by yourself in the quiet of your room and nobody ever has to know you did it. And you don't have to call them. That being said, I'm the only one that'll ever tell you this, but you don't actually have to forgive your number 10 person. You don't. Some people aren't even capable. There's some magical people that can absolutely forgive the person who murdered their parents or the person they got raped by. Not everybody can do that. I'm not even sure I could do that. But there's many other things that you can forgive. You can forgive the bed, the chair, the table, so many other things you can forgive. So I want you to sit down and I want you to write a list and I want you to stream it of the people, places, and things. Yes, we'll get to that in a minute, of who you need to forgive. And then I want you to rate all these people from 1 to 10. And then I want you to start with the number ones. The tens, they're a bear. They're hard to do. Don't start with forgiving your hardest one. I want you to forgive that person in grammar school who stole your lunch. I want you to forgive the person that just cut you off at the stop sign. I want you to forgive the person who stole your pen at work the other day. You really love that pen. Or they stole your lunch out of the refrigerator. We're looking forward to that sandwich. Forgive those people first. And as you forgive these things, you're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to notice things more. The coffee's going to taste better. Your shoulders, you're going to feel lighter. And that's how you start. You start with the easy ones and then you work your way up to the bear.
Mm. This is kind of like working out. When you don't go into the gym and pick the heaviest weights, you start maybe walking every day, starting to get fit, starting to build your muscles, and then gradually your confidence grows and you feel the benefits, and then you feel ready to take on bigger weights. So the bigger betrayals, if you like, or bigger situations or people that you need to forgive.
Exactly right. By the time you get to your eight, you're going to understand how you feel. When I forgive, I feel a pressure in the middle of my chest and I kind of feel something released. Some people get tired, some people tell me their shoulders get lighter. But by the time you get to your number eight, you're going to know when you've completely forgiven somebody because your body's going to tell you. And you're also, because you've forgiven all these other things, you're going to be mentally prepared for it. So you may not be mentally prepared to forgive your number 10. Be good to yourself. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and it may take a couple passes. So then people look at me and say, well, I did your forgiveness thing and it didn't work. Yeah, it actually did work. But forgiveness is an onion. And as you forgive, the layers, there are more layers underneath, especially with your number 10. So you'll forgive that surface layer, and then some more ugly memories are going to come up, and you're going to have to forgive that layer. And eventually you'll get to the center of your onion, and you'll get that number 10 down to an 8, down to a 7, down to a 6, down to a 3, where you can probably forgive them. That's why I want you to keep them for last.
And you explain this process beautifully in your book. It's very clear, very easy to follow. So I really recommend that people get your book. I've got my Kindle, so I don't have to wait for anything, instant satisfaction.
There is an audiobook available as well that my son and I produce. So if you don't like to read, many people don't, you can buy the audiobook.
Oh, perfect. So you can have the hard copy for those of you that like old-fashioned books.
Yep.
You can have the Kindle version if you need instant gratification like me. And if you prefer to listen, you're not much of a reader, you can listen to it. Perfect. So one of the things I've found is that you can kind of think you've done the work, but then life happens. And I'm pretty certain if we were to really think about it, I could find some things to forgive from the last week. Think
Sure.
little everyday situations I've got triggered, disappointments, rejections, things that didn't go as planned. I feel like this work is work that we need to come back to time and time again. What's your perspective on that?
Sadly, you're never done with forgiveness. We're humans, and humans, excuse my language, but humans piss off other humans. Really, no other way to say. We make each other angry. And it might be an energy thing, but you're going to meet somebody who is the opposite of you or has different energy, and you're going to irritate each other. There's always something to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with your number 10s, this is going to be a little mind stretching for some people listening to this podcast, but Einstein did prove that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just simply changes form. So when you get angry, you think that your anger goes out into the universe and dissipates into the clouds. Sadly, it does not. It hangs in your energy field. So you start to walk like I was in my 20s. I was kind of walking around in this dark, angry cloud that nobody could get through. So forgiveness is going to transmute the energy into a lighter energy. But everybody has energy around them. Everything has energy around them. So when I'm telling you, you may not want to forgive the person of the number 10, you can forgive the energy around the person. You can forgive yourself. You can forgive the energy around yourself. There's a lot of things you can forgive. And for those science minded people, I have a science chapter in there to back up everything I'm saying.
Yeah, amazing. So, one of the misconceptions you talk about in your book is that if you forgive someone, it's somehow condoning their behavior or
Yeah.
sort of making them right. And so often in these situations, we feel that we're right. We might have done everything we could or done the right thing and still being made to be wrong or still being rejected or betrayed or whatever it is. Can you speak about that?
See, at the end of the day, you're forgiving for you. You're not saying what they did was correct. You're not. You want that invisible cord that's tied the two of you together to break. You want to be able to go on social media, see their name, and not wish bad things about them. That's how you know you're forgiven. You're neutral. You don't think any happy thoughts. You don't think negative thoughts. It's neutral. You're looking at their name and it doesn't do anything. They call and you see their caller ID. It does nothing. You don't care. That's when you know you've forgiven them. But you don't do it for them because, what if it's a family member and, everybody else thinks this family member walks on water? I don't care that everybody else thinks this person walks on water. You don't. I care about you more than anything else. So you're forgiving for you. You're forgiving so you can release yourself. You're the prisoner. Sadly, you think they're thinking about you all the time. They are not. They're probably not even thinking about you at all, but you're thinking about it all the time. You think it, you live it, you breathe it, you're daydreaming about it. You see a story and your brain goes right automatically back to it. You're in hell. So you're the one who wants to get off, and you're the one who wants the freedom.
Mm.
That's what forgiveness will do. It's gonna give you freedom. Now, it may take a couple passes, but at the end of the day, it will set you free.
So really, we're doing it for ourselves, to set ourselves free.
100%.
What would you say are some of the top things that people need to forgive, or kind of situations or dynamics?
Well, first of all, before I answer that question, just a little reminder to people, it doesn't matter if they're alive or dead because you're forgiving for you. So where they are doesn't matter a bit. Doesn't matter because it's immaterial. I really don't care whether they are. They could be in heaven. I don't care. So you're forgiving for you. And, people forgive, you can forgive anything. You can forgive your childhood home where all the crap started, maybe, or your last job, the building where your last job was. You can forgive 1974, for example. I did forgive 1974 because it was a horrible year. There's a lot of things you can forgive. A very close friend of mine forgave, she was writing her list and she randomly wrote down a little red wagon. No memory of a little red wagon, had no idea why she wrote it down, but she forgave it, put it as a number one, because why not? And she forgave the little red wagon. Why? Because on some part of her was probably mad at the damn thing. It's probably from her childhood. So all of these things combined will set you free. You can forgive the alcohol that you drink. You can forgive the food that you're eating because it's fattening. You can forgive that. You can forgive money. You can forgive shame. Maybe you feel shame about something that happened. You can forgive the word shame. You can forgive yourself for feeling that I need dot, dot, dot. I forgive myself for becoming the person I had to during this trauma. See what I'm doing? There's a lot of things that you can forgive in your life, not just people.
Yeah, I think self forgiveness, especially for women, I think that we tend to turn in on ourselves and blame ourselves far more than, this is generalization, but men tend to blame and we tend to blame ourselves. And I think that all women would benefit hugely from self forgiveness around different chapters of motherhood, work life, family
Mhm.
relationships, body image, health.
This is the first book of three, and the next book is going to be about forgiving yourself and how to really forgive your number 10s. When I submitted this book to my editor, I submitted like a 150, 200 page book, and I got sent back in three pieces saying, you didn't write one, you wrote three. Okay. Because people today don't have a really good attention span, do they? Because of TikTok and all of these things. So this book is only about 100 pages, and change. So the next book will get more into how to forgive yourself. Because I think at the end of the day, I think you're right. Forgiving yourself is by far the hardest person you will ever forgive.
Hmm. So let's circle back to the benefits of forgiveness again. Let's say somebody's got your book, they've gone through the process, and we already talked about this is ongoing and there's layers. It's like the onion, there's layers to peel back, especially on some of the bigger pieces. What's on the other side of this work?
You can't find your ideal significant other, your ideal job, your ideal house, friends, if you're looking at the world through anger, because you're going to attract the wrong kind of person. Or you want to lose weight. Well, you're angry, so you're going to eat because it makes you feel better. None of these things are going to happen. But once you release the anger, once you release all of these things from your life, the dark clouds are going to dissipate around you and you're going to see your world better. You're going to be able to see the significant other. You're going to be able to see what you've been doing to your body. And maybe you want to start to exercise. You're going to be able to see a little bit more clearly that maybe I don't want that drink. Maybe I just want to go one day without it. you're going to see that you want a better life for yourself. So it's going to help you lose weight. It's going to help money flow into your life. It's going to help relationships come into your life. Now, are they going to come as soon as you finish my book? All these things going to come Tuesday at 3:00, boom, on your doorstep? No, they will not. Don't email me about it. It's going to take some time. But if you want a relationship, well, now you've forgiven everything, maybe you'll go out into the world and you'll meet somebody. See, there's some action steps you need to take. So unless you want to marry the pizza delivery person, you're going to actually have to leave your house and go do something. You want an ideal career. Well, now I can see, I can go on the internet and I can start, bouncing around and seeing what I can put together. It's going to open your life up because you're going to be able to see again. Really, what anger does is it blinds you and it turns you inside. Forgiveness is going to open up the windows. It's going to unblind you. You're going to be able to see again, and you're going to be able to live your life better.
So powerful. I mean, who wouldn't say yes to that?
Let me tell you a little story that's 100% true. It's in the book, but let me tell you a quick story. I made my list. I do practice what I preach. I made my list and I looked at one of my number ones because you can have more than one and more than two twos. You can have multiples. It's all good. It's all right. And I looked at it, was somebody I went to high school with. And I couldn't remember for the love of me what we were angry about. I hadn't talked to this person in 30, 40 years. That's how old I am. And so I forgave them. And then I went on with my day. Because in my world, you don't have to burn incense. You don't have to dance up and down on one leg and do a jig. It's a really simple process. There's nothing you really need to do, as tiny little mantra I have in the book. 2 hours later, true story, 2 hours later, she called me up on the phone. Hadn't spoken to her in decades. So I was very taken aback. And we got to, we became friends again and we talked. And I'm a very curious little bear. And I couldn't stand it. And I said, okay, after all these years, why did you decide to call me today? She said it was the strangest thing. One of the figurines you gave me way back in high school fell off my shelf and landed in the middle of my bedroom. So I thought I should give you a call. The time that happened was exactly when I was forgiving her. We were 700 miles away. So a forgiveness has the power to transfer 700 miles and move a figurine off a shelf for a level 1 person. Imagine what it would do to your life for a level 5 or a level 8. This is powerful stuff.
Yeah, really powerful and just real. And I love the way you've introduced that we can shape and shift that energy through
Mhm.
forgiveness practice, creating real energetic shifts in the world in how people respond to us and what the energy is like between us.
You can forgive anything. You can forgive people, places, things. You can forgive countries. You can forgive whatever you want. You can forgive it, and that will shift the energy. Are you going to fix the world? No. But if we all do this at the same time, we might fix the world together as a group. So I'm just suggesting that forgiveness and love will get you much farther than hate and bitterness and anger.
Yes, I talk a lot in my world about raising yourself up the vibrational scale and spending more time in those higher vibration emotions. And I think this is a really powerful tool to be able to do that, to take yourself up by releasing the anger and resentment.
Yeah, because holding on to it is just going to make you sick. And people say anger is toxic. Okay, why is anger toxic? What exactly does it do to me? It does make you sick because stress is really critical and it will kill you. You'll have the heart attacks. You'll gain too much weight. There's a lot of reasons why it is toxic. And by forgiving, you're going to release those toxins. So in the book, I am going to advise you don't forgive more than 10 to 12 people at a time, because what's going to happen when you forgive? That anger, which is toxic, is going to leave your body. Does it magically leave your body like air just going through your skin? Sometimes, but sometimes it does not. And I like you to do it at night because science has proven that our bodies heal ourselves at night. Our body will heal when we're sleeping. So do it before you go to bed so your body can release those toxins in your sleep. You might get a headache. You might get really sleepy. my son gets really sleepy. He doesn't do the forgives unless he's home because he gets really tired. You might have some stomach issues, shall we politely say. The reason I know this is because when I first did this work, I am an overachiever, as you probably could guess by now. And so I forgave like 50, 60 people, places, and things all at once. I do drink my own Kool-Aid. I mean, I do these things. And the next day, I was in bed for 3 days with what everybody thought was a bad case of the stomach flu. But it was not the stomach flu. I knew it wasn't. It was because I had forgiven so many people and my body had to catch up. So I was literally clearing things out. I didn't have a bug. I kind of did it to myself. So do 10 to 12 people at a time over the course of a week or 2 weeks, and eventually you'll get through your list and you'll get through the list and think, I'm done. Yeah, no, you're not. Now I want you to create another list. Sorry, because last week somebody hit your car, and you're probably mad at those people, as we said before earlier in the podcast. You're going to have a brand new list. Thank you very much, because you're going to have gone through that first two layers of the onion, and now you're to layer three, and there's a whole brand new list of nice people that you need to forgive on that layer. But the good news is you're going to feel better, which is why you're going to keep doing it. You're going to feel so much better.
Mm. I think it's a really powerful practice as well to do when somebody's thinking about reinventing their life or writing their next chapter, because it's almost like having a giant declutter of everything that's taking up energetic real estate inside you. And we talk a lot about having new ideas or want to do new things, but you need to have space to do that. And this is a really powerful practice for creating that space and letting go of old ideas about yourself, like old anger, old emotions, old resentment. This just feels like a really great way to start your own reinvention.
You know the saying, nature abhors a vacuum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a field. And will it stay a field? No, nature's going to fill it. And before you know it, it's going to be a forest with all sorts of things. So, right now, what we're doing is we're seeing a forest and we want to clear it down to a field so we can create a brand new forest. Forgiveness is going to actually be the catalyst that's going to clear that field. So now you've got a clean slate. Okay, now I can see all these great things because the forest's gone. Now I can see everything. So now I'm going to start planting new things into it. It's pretty much what you're doing.
I love that analogy. So, people can get your book on Kindle, in real life, on audio, and we'll make sure that we link to that in the show notes. Where else can people get connected with you?
They can go to my website, which is katharinegiovanni.com. And Catherine is spelled very strangely. Thanks, Mom. It's spelled Katharine Giovanni.com. And I have videos on there and books and, all the stuff, so to speak.
Amazing. Oh, and I'm curious to ask you a couple of questions about this new chapter. The writing, this seems to be where you've really hit your stride. Can you tell us a little bit more about what this brings you?
Writing is my happy place. It's what got me through college. I could be doing awful during the school year, but at the exam, I'd always ace the essay. So it's always kind of pulled me through. I've always enjoyed writing. I've always enjoyed helping people. I've always enjoyed, I look at somebody and they'll tell me something, and in my head, I'm going, I could fix that if they let me. So I enjoy that. When I was teaching people how to start a concierge business, my greatest joy was to see people make that $1 million. I love it when people become successful. I'm one of those strange people that really adore seeing people successful. I love it. I love seeing people live their passion, so to speak. So that's why I decided, taking it from a very small little group, the concierge industry, which is kind of like having celebrity in a glass, isn't it? It's like a celebrity in a tiny little bubble. And I wanted to take myself out of that bubble so I could do it on a larger scale and help people, because I'm a really big fan of seeing people live their best life. And you can't do that if you're angry.
Yeah, I love your mission. And it seems to me, looking back, that there's been this thread around wanting to help people and around writing, and that's run through since teenage years.
I've always been a writer, even through, even in the early years of email where we actually wrote long emails to each other. I've always been a big fan of it. And in 1998, the little bird on my shoulder kind of murmured into my ear, "You should write a book." And because I'm kind of a belligerent student, I looked up at the ceiling and I said, "I should do a what? I can't write a book. Never written a book before, but I couldn't get it out of my head. You should write a book. You should write a book." So I did. And that's how that journey started. I've learned to listen to the little bird on my shoulder. It saved my life 3 times. Not that I'm counting, of course, but it did. I wouldn't be sitting here with you if it hadn't told me to start running. And I did, even though I'm allergic to exercise, but I couldn't get it out of my head. And I started to run. And I went from a size 14 down to an 8. When I got to the 8, I do a self-breast exam every year. On my birthday, I found a lump. And the surgeon said if I hadn't taken up running and lost the weight, I would be dead. Wrote a book about that too. So yeah, I'm a breast cancer survivor. But in life, listening to your intuition, listening to that gut feeling is going to help you. And releasing the anger is going to allow you to hear your intuition clearer, because you're not going to be so focused on the people that hate you or you hate them. You're not going to be focused on these people. You're going to have that clear field. So now your intuition can come in and literally guide you to where you've always wanted to go from the beginning.
So you're creating a much clearer channel, and you're then
Yes.
much more able to hear your inner thoughts, your inner guidance, your inner wisdom.
Your inner compass, so to speak. I mean, if you know which way is north, you know which way to go. But if anger is causing your compass to kind of go, just go in a circle, you're not going to be able to walk in the direction you were born to walk. You're just going to be walking in circles.
And I'd love to wrap up with one question I ask everybody that comes on the show. And that is, what is true abundance for you?
True abundance for me is living a life that is financially free. And true abundance is seeing people that I can help. And that's true abundance to me. I really enjoy, not kidding, I really enjoy helping people. I really enjoy turning on their lights. And true abundance to me is, getting rid of the survival stuff that we all need. We need the house, we need money, we need food, we need clothes. You get all that squared away, you get that sorted. I love that British expression. You get all of that sorted, and now I can really do what I'm supposed to do. To me, that's abundance.
And do you feel that you're sort of hitting your stride in what you're here to do in the world now more than ever? It kind of feels that way to me.
It does. At the rate, I'm going to be 63 pretty soon. So it is never too late to be what you might have been. And it doesn't mean that you can't hit your stride in your 20s for the 20 and 30-year-olds who are listening, but it also doesn't mean that when you hit 50, 60, and 70, you're dead. Don't die until you're dead, people. You can reinvent yourself and become who you want to be at any age that you are. In New York City, there was a commercial, "Where's the Beef?" The woman who said that was a woman named Clara. She was in her 80s. She became a star in her 80s.
I love it. I love it.
Can
You've got decades left to go.
Decades.
Just getting started. Amazing. Thank you, Katharine. Thank you so much for bringing this really important topic of forgiveness to the show in a way that people can really get a handle on it and understand the power of it and how much it can transform their lives. And thank you for doing this work and sharing your stories and what has been quite a remarkable journey. I really enjoyed being in conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
What a great episode. I am sure that you took away some really valuable nuggets from our discussion. And I can't believe it's the first time in 3 years that I've actually talked about the topic of forgiveness in depth. So a big thank you to Katharine for bringing this work to the show. So if you are looking to up level, to double your income, and to scale your freedom your abundance, the ease in your business and your happiness, then my Thrive Beautifully Mastermind may be for you. It's a year-long mastermind for women entrepreneurs that combines deep energy and personal development work with business mentoring and money mindset work. And it'll help you really get to the root of what needs to shift so that you can scale your business. It's for creative and spiritual women entrepreneurs. And if you would like to know more, just go to polyalexander.com/thrive-beautifully, and you can find the link in the show notes. Enjoy reading and diving into Katharine's book. And I'm holding your own forgiveness journey with compassion and love. As you may have noticed, we are now publishing on Thursdays. Now, I was going to go bi-weekly, but I decided that I'm going to stick to the same rhythm I uphold in my business. So we're actually going to publish on the first 3 Thursdays of the month, and there'll be no podcast on the 4th Thursday. So I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Have a wildly abundant week. I'm going to be taking some time off on holiday, and I can't wait to come back with renewed energy and joy and optimism. Bye for now.